My brother loaned me $200,000 and took off on a vacation to Europe with his wife and her in-laws. 3 days after that, he phoned me and yelled, "Halt this immediately. My name's Ethan. I'm 35, a movie maker, the eldest sibling, the one who tracks the schedule when others lose track of the date. I survive on organized shooting scripts. My device is packed with footage ideas, actor suggestions, and audio recordings of me telling myself to relax. I avoid alcohol during filming. I meet every due date. And if you give me an issue at 2 a.m., I'll calmly fix it before dawn." My brother, Theo, is 2 years my junior. He refers to me as Showbiz, as if it's a jab, wedded to a woman named Claire who sports sandals without socks, and mentions connections every few words. Their group pictures always feature matching grins and pricey surfaces in the background, granite, slate, whatever's popular. The evening it began, I was at Dad's place collecting a container of vintage 8mm films I vowed to convert digitally. Dad was tinkering with a cake that required no tinkering. Theo and Claire were seated at the table, hunched over their screens, fingers flying like they earned per tap. The television broadcast a vacation program about Lake Garda. Everyone acted uninterested, but the space kept sneaking peeks as if the display was tugging ropes. Theo didn't glance up when I entered. "Ethan," he stated, uninterested voice, gaze fixed on his device, "you're delayed." Once more, I glanced at my timepiece. I arrived 15 minutes ahead. "I'm punctual." He grinned at Claire. "Filmmakers' schedules are mere ideas to them." "Amusing," I replied. I carried Dad's ancient films. Dad beamed as if the term dad was a breeze he needed to adjust. "That's kind, son." We took seats. There was this tension in the atmosphere. Theo grabbed the greens, arms laden with bangles that clinked as if tallying points. He placed the dish and at last met my eyes. "You'll be pleased to learn we determined your position," he said. "My position? In the household." He lifted his shoulders. "You oversee, we exist. You fund prospects like ours. And in exchange, you feel essential. That's the mutual benefit." Claire chuckled. "He's the framework. We're the narrative." My utensil halted midway to my lips. The area fell silent, the program on screen bridging the quiet with gentle keyboard tunes and azure waves. Dad cleared his voice. "Don't begin," he directed at me, as if I was the instigator who just designated myself a task no one proposed. "I'm not beginning," I stated. Theo reclined. I remain firm. "Excellent. Because this is the new normal from here." Ethan reduced opposition. There was a moment where I believed I'd misunderstood, or perhaps he intended something ordinary, but he maintained eye contact, and I sensed that tiny break within, like a string snapping. I offered no clever retort. I didn't cause a scene. I set my utensil aside, creased the cloth, and uttered, "Fine." No one stirred. Theo grinned as if he'd guided a vessel to shore. Somewhere on the broadcast, a person plunged into a vibrant pond. Somewhere in my torso, an entrance shut. I gathered the films and departed. I convinced myself I was overanalyzing. I convinced myself it was merely Theo being Theo. I convinced myself of many things until the evening I accessed my financial application and grasped precisely what he implied by reduced opposition. I was 12 when Mom passed me the initial video recorder. She'd lost her job that period, so we skipped dining out. We consumed toasted sandwiches and viewed films and discussed angles and why certain moments rang authentic. When she passed, the recorder transferred to me like a staff in a race no one else desired to join. I attended evening courses. I assisted on terrible ads. I filmed ceremonies for folks who requested portray us as a movie. Each payment went to housing, gear, or reducing the educational debts that transformed my 20s into an extended corridor with glaring bulbs. Theo avoided corridors. He preferred skylines, fresh devices, fresh excursions, fresh excuses. And I was the solution. I covered his initial payment when his debut residence suddenly demanded 3 months in advance. I bridged for Claire's interim period when she quit employment to start something that never started. I handled a dental expense, a vehicle fix, another dental expense. Each instance arrived with a warm grin and a vow. "Only this time. You're incredible, we'll reimburse you." Dad supplied the dialogue. "Your brother isn't constructed like you," he'd mention. "You're resilient, you'll manage." Meaning, you bounce back quickly so you can absorb the impact. When my debut movie launched, Theo skipped the viewing due to a meditation getaway. He dispatched a love symbol and an extended audio message about his pride while inquiring, offhandedly at the close, if I could cover him for a fortnight. I did, naturally I did. Here's the dull segment, the part absent from highlights, tables, tax files, entries, the retirement fund I initiated with $50 automatic deposits, the filmmaking company with its separate funds, so I wouldn't mix my cash with backer funds, the routine of capturing every bill as if it counted, because it did. In January, I sold a screenplay, the type of agreement with stages, submissions, and a transfer that forced me to sit when the alert arrived. Portion of it was allocated for team rewards on a tough independent project I'd recently completed. Portion was the initial payment for a modest home close to the lot, so I could cease reciting from cartons. The remainder was buffer, something I'd never possessed. I phoned Dad. He responded at last, as if I'd advanced from being helpful to being extremely helpful. 2 weeks on, Theo gathered us all. Large feast, fresh scents that evoked wealth. Claire was already serving drinks when I showed up. She tapped mine. To kin enterprises, she declared. Warning sign, but I placed it carefully. We dined. We exchanged chit-chat. The vacation program aired once more. Lake Garda's waves resembled a desktop image. Theo held off until the dishes were piled and then positioned his device screen down as if preparing to give a presentation. So, he announced, we're heading to Europe. Dad folded his palms. How delightful. With Claire's folks, Theo appended. They've never gone. It'll be, transformative. A connection builder before the upcoming phase. Upcoming phase? I inquired. He shrugged. We're attempting. This season. So it's sort of act now or miss for an extended journey. Dad's gaze shifted to me as if I was the one approving the form. I'm glad for you, I stated. I sort of meant it. Vacations are okay. Offspring are okay. Existence is okay. Theo inhaled deeply. All drama. We are somewhat constrained, however. There it came. Claire gazed at the roof as if money matters were a climate she couldn't influence. How constrained? I questioned. Theo chuckled overly cheerfully. Not constrained. Just the airfares are outrageous, and accommodations in August, are you aware? Dad interjected. Your brother merits something pleasant. You labor constantly, Ethan. You never utilize your leave days. I gazed at them. My pocket vibrated. Filming message. Timetable shift because a site withdrew. Beneath it, a climate warning. Beneath that, a payment request from Theo, labeled initial. I didn't access it. How much? I questioned again. Theo rotated a bangle. We'll return it once we're home. It's not really a debt, more like a short-term shift. Short-term, Claire repeated. How much? Theo drew in air as if preparing to submerge. 200. I blinked. 200 what? He blinked in return, naive. 1,000. The space slanted. My mind performed this foolish act where it divided sounds from routine, as if I was revising lines. 200 thou, sand, I chuckled, genuinely chuckled. No, Ethan, Dad stated firmly. Don't be harsh, I replied. Theo positioned his device upright, display dark like a pupil. We know you're able, it's your function. My teeth clenched. I rose, seized my coat. I can't and I won't. Theo's lips contorted. Wow, he said. Wealth altered you. I exited. My palms trembled during the commute home. I attempted to inhale through it. Foolish, basic inhales. 2 days elapsed. I returned to production. I observed performers deliver dialogues about mercy I'd composed months prior for a role that wasn't mine. I flipped my device downward and tried not to check. Then Tuesday evening, I launched my financial app to arrange team rewards. The figure glared back. Reduced. So much reduced. My finger chilled. 2 movements. Identical day. Outside movement, note journey. Outside movement, note can aid. 2 distinct sums with a small print remark about connected gadgets and prior approval. I stiffened. I navigated to codes. My device, my computer, my pad. I'd secured them. Since the initial occasion, Claire adjusted my configurations for ease. I deactivated facial recognition for other visages. I'd eliminated every approved gadget except mine. I browsed transactions. I browsed once more. I noticed a third record, approved member included, elite. I examined the archive of digitized documents I maintained for revenue period. Sat on my sofa holding my air until my skull throbbed. There, concealed following a directory of performer contracts, was a file named Basic Assistance. Theo, Dad. I launched it and viewed an authority document from 2 years back when I'd been in Toronto for a production, and Dad had a concern with the residents. I'd completed one briefly so he could endorse a land fee matter while I was airborne. We'd never voided it. I hadn't considered it since. I contacted Dad. He picked up on the second tone, winded. Don't you dare elevate your tone at me, he commenced. I didn't utter anything, I stated. Where's Theo? Don't address your brother as if he's an offender. Where is he? Preparing, Dad replied. Their departure is tomorrow. I gazed at the surface. You utilized my document. It's kin, he stated, as if the term was a pass that opened every gate. It's robbery, I stated. Quiet, then a gentle tut. You'll recover it. Don't be theatrical. $200,000. Short term, reduced opposition. A dark display like a pupil observing me remained motionless. That evening, I didn't rest. At daybreak, I prepared brew I didn't consume. I accessed the collective image collection Dad demands for celebrations. A fresh edition appeared. Theo's entry ticket beneath a flute of terminal bubbly. Label. Farewell, duties. Then Claire's image of 4 travel documents on a stone surface. Hers, Theo's, her parents, spread like a winning set. I gazed until my vision burned. Then I rotated my device horizontal and began capturing images. 3 days on, my device rang while I was planning a sequence. Unfamiliar digits, European prefix. I directed it to recording. It rang again, same digits. Then Theo's identifier emerged with a video call plea. I moved from the illumination and responded sound only. His tone struck me like icy liquid. Ethan, cease this at once. I'm occupied, I stated. Deactivate it. Whatever you initiated, reverse it. Clarify. His respiration quickened as if he'd been sprinting. The plastic refuses. The lodging claims the transaction reversed. The return flight, there's a block. Claire's parents are in the entrance hall, and all are gazing at us like fraudsters. I rested against a barrier, eyed a mark where a support had touched the coating last week. Correct, I stated. Ethan, he whispered. Dad said you'd be sensible. This is mortifying. I submitted papers to the institution, I stated. Deception statements. The authority is withdrawn. Also, the authorities' notifications submitted. You submitted an authorities, are you mad? I maintain my tone steady. A legal expert is involved, Theo. You authorized an internal shift from funds you had no claim to, using a control you never possessed. We'll allow the institution resolve it. You're escalating this excessively, he barked. You don't want this to turn nasty. Claire's father has contacts. We can complicate this greatly for you. Theo, I stated, you already have. Quiet. Then the pivot to persuasion like a shift in speed. What about the child, he inquired softly. We informed you, we're attempting. Tension isn't beneficial. Do you wish to be the cause? Don't, I stated. Do not place a fictional child between my funds and your vacation. He drew in sharply. Wow, he said, you truly are unfeeling. I removed my device from my ear and viewed his identifier shining green like it was a foreign transmission. Replace it. The team rewards distribute Friday, I stated. The fellows who labor evenings in the downpour. They're receiving compensation. The residence finalizes in 2 weeks. My legal counsel will contact regarding a reimbursement scheme and the legal aspect. I'm also locking anything with my identifier that you accessed, and I'm alerting every creditor who included you without my approval. You're destroying us, he said. Over what? Over a kin vacation. Over $200,000 of my funds, I stated plainly. Over a lifetime of you anticipating me to repair your decisions. Claire's tone interrupted from afar. Place him on broadcast, then amplified. Ethan, pal, don't label me pal, I stated. See, obviously there's been a confusion. We'll reimburse when we restructure. I chuckled once. It rang harsh. When you restructure what, Claire? Your auras. Ethan, Theo said, sharp now. Halt the reversals. Halt the notification. We will transfer something today. Direct it to my legal counsel, I stated. Ethan, he attempted again, gentle this time, showbiz. It once was a quip that hurt. Now it was merely sound. I must return to production, I stated. This discussion is concluded. You'll rue this, he snapped. Dad will never pardon you. Then I suppose we're all at last being truthful, I said, and disconnected. I remained in the hushed passage with a coil of adhesive tape at my feet, and the aroma of coating and inexpensive brew in the atmosphere. I could hear my lead assistant summoning a restart. Somewhere along the corridor, a performer rehearsed dialogue quietly. I returned, signaled at the lens, and said from the beginning, the institution locked everything bearing my identifier quicker than anticipated. Deception unit, alerts, restriction symbols, I noted in an application titled Theo. The authority was annulled in a meeting space where my legal expert employed terms like severe violation and improper gain. I inquired if we must escalate fully. He examined the figures and said, you're already amid the fallout. Dad deposited 8 recordings the initial day. The first 3 were fury. How could you inflict this on your brother? The subsequent 3 were negotiation. Just release the block for one lodging, Ethan. They're being shamed, and the final 2 were the weary victim tone I recognized well. You're shredding this household. I preserved them all. I didn't respond. On production, I was stable in a manner that alarmed me. It resembled overseeing on a precipice. Your souls sense the brink, but your palms still trace identical direct paths. I reviewed daily footage at midnight. I distributed team rewards Friday, and one technician messaged me an image of a housing payment with gratitude and a love symbol. I gazed at it as if it was evidence that people still functioned logically. Theo's social feed went silent. Claire's parents' profile did not. An entry from an unknown profile appeared in my messages, an image of them at a reception, visages obscured, words overlaid. When your opulent scheme encounters truth. I didn't circulate it. I avoid communal shame. I don't require the web to applaud me. I required my funds returned and my limits to signify something. By Monday, my legal expert had prepared a reimbursement timeline with enforcement. Bookkeepers arranged the figures in a grid that appeared uninteresting until you grasped each slot was a period of another's presumption, fees, failures, outcomes. He copied Theo and Claire. Claire responded 3 minutes on. We won't endorse anything until we converse like grown-ups. Households shouldn't engage legal experts. Theo responded 5 minutes after, a section about affection and obligation, and how I'd overlooked my origins. I composed back one sentence. You can direct to advisor. That afternoon, the kin message chain ignited. Uncles, relatives, folks who hadn't dispatched a felicitation message for my movie, abruptly possessed views on my soul. The prevalent motif, kinship, as if kinship was an agreement I'd endorsed unconsciously. I silenced the discussion and took a stroll around the area. Birds battled over a pastry. A guy shouted at a parking device. Existence persisted as precisely what it is. That evening, Dad contacted from an obscured number. I responded because I am, regrettably, still myself. He began with an exhale as if I was already draining him. "You've stated your view," he said. "It's not a view," I said. "It's a limit." Wordplay, they're stuck. "They are in Italy," I said, "with entry to 2 pairs of guardians. They are not stuck." He tutted. "You've always been so distant, Dad," I said, maintaining my tone balanced. I covered Theo's housing 3 occasions. I handled Claire's venture start. I purchased wheels for their vehicle because they were hazardous. I dispatched money when they misplaced a purse. I permitted a brief authority to persist because you requested. I am weary, quiet. Then the connection went hushed in that particular way that indicates sorrow. I shut my eyes and rested my head against the barrier. "You'll destroy the bond," he said at last. "It was already fractured," I said. "I'm just not feigning it isn't." For 2 weeks I existed in dual realities. One was compact, labor, rest, legal, tables. The other was noisy, kin, communications, a contact from Claire's father that started composed and concluded with a warning he worded as an assistance. I captured it, forwarded to my legal expert. He chuckled without amusement. "They're accustomed to agreements," he said. "You're providing them packs." 3 minor events occurred that shouldn't count but did. First, my cinematographer placed a brew on my seat with a memo. For whatever they seized, he didn't refer to the cash. Second, I went to inspect a residence. Nothing extraordinary, pale coating, uneven passage. A rear yard the dimension of a movie vehicle. The agent discussed hosting. I envisioned a collapsible surface with screenplay sheets scattered. A light, silent. I submitted a bid. I didn't inform anyone. Third, Theo messaged me. Regretful, at 2:17 am, a moment later, "Can you contact me?" I gazed at the display until my vision ached. Then I positioned the device downward and dozed for the first occasion in weeks. The following morning, my legal expert sent a fund movement, the initial portion. It wasn't complete, far from it, but it was partial. It arrived with a pact after all, base monthly sums. Security noted as transport and non-pension investments. I didn't boast. I also didn't acknowledge Theo's regret. I allowed the paper to serve as the dialogue. By Friday, the message chain had reversed on itself. A relative shared a section about responsibility. An uncle composed, but kin, again, and another uncle composed, he declined. It was the oddest feeling, folks debating me as if I wasn't present. I shut the program. 2 days on, Theo dropped by my residence unannounced. I opened the entrance to his visage, exhausted, swollen, less polished. "No bangles, no grin. Can we converse?" he inquired. "No bangles, no grin. Can we converse?" he inquired. "We are," I said, and moved aside because I was nurtured by the same man who instructed me to always provide liquid even when you desired to hurl the vessel. He remained in my lounge appearing diminutive. "I erred," he said, and for an instant it rang genuine. "You pilfered," I said. He affirmed. Claire said we could resolve it afterward, and Dad said you wouldn't notice, and it seemed like he faltered on his own words. "I'm regretful," I paused. Folks believe regrets are an incantation. They utter the term and moments reverse. They don't. It merely halts. "You still must proceed." We endorsed, he added. "We're reimbursing." I liquidated some shares. "Mom, Claire's mom," he halted. "Anyway, I viewed the movement," I said. He glanced up optimistic. "So can you unlock the plastic?" "Just for provisions, for a couple weeks." I shook my head. "No," his lips compressed. I said regretful, and I declined. He gazed at me as if I'd turned unfamiliar. Perhaps I had. Perhaps that was the intent. On his exit, he contacted the containers by my entrance. Volumes, a tiny light. The frame filming image Mom captured of me at 17 with a sound pole too weighty for my arm. "Are you relocating?" he inquired. "Soon," I said. "To where?" "Somewhere peaceful," I said. He hesitated as if he might utter something authentic. Then he didn't. He departed. The entrance latched. My residence felt vast. I shut my eyes and envisioned Lake Garda. Azure waves, keyboard tunes, a man with bangles grasping you can't purchase quiet any longer. Folks think resolution is a monologue. It isn't. It's a roster you maintain on your device and truly adhere to. I terminated the former reserve fund and initiated a fresh one with genuine, living oversight. I eliminated every approved gadget that wasn't mine, verified that facial ID was solely my visage, and erased the outdated scanned authority I should never have allowed to linger like a stray fastener on a production. I informed my legal expert we were not pursuing legal accusations, for the moment, because I didn't wish to bind my next year to tribunals. I also informed him that one omitted payment activates everything. He said excellent, in a manner that meant, at last. I acquired the uneven residence. The initial evening in the silence, I consumed delivery on a relocation container and heard the cooler buzz like a timid creature. I attached a shooting schedule to the barrier by the exit from routine. Sequence 1. Dawn. Sequence 2. Brew. Sequence 3. Compose something regardless. My mind continued anticipating my device to erupt, to pull me back into the position I once performed. It didn't. A message arrived from my technician. The rewards rescued my period. Another from my cutter were secure. Those communications felt like tiny, precise gifts. The type you gain. Dad hasn't visited. We conversed once. He attempted to reshape the tale without perceiving himself. It escalated. It was a mix-up. You could have managed it discreetly. I said I did. You made it open. He said you're harsh, with his tone quivering. I said I'm reliable. When we disconnected, I didn't weep. I prepared infusion and refined a correspondence because that's who I am when no one's observing. Theo and I message occasionally, certain matters, arrangements, reimbursements, an image of a provision roster with the term allocation on it. His, not mine. I didn't reply with instruction. I'm finished being an instructor for folks who don't attend sessions. I visit mom's film on my fresh ledge and utter aloud, I accomplished it. She doesn't respond. She never did. She just remained beside me while I attempted. Somehow that's sufficient. Claire dispatched an extended regret message last week. It scanned like a formal paper in a tire that didn't suit. She endorsed it with esteem. I stored it. Esteem isn't a section. Esteem is not accessing what isn't yours. Esteem is appearing when it's awkward and quieting when it's time to hear. I viewed a vacation program last evening while I was unpacking. Lake Garda again, because the system knows I gazed at those images too long. The keyboard tunes were gentle. The waves were attractive. I didn't feel resentful. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt present, in a residence that's mine, with a latch that secures and a fund reserve that sustains. I maintain one guideline displayed on my cooler now. It's inscribed in 14-point type like a screenplay memo. I am not your dispenser. It's not charming. It's not a quip, it's a limit. Straightforward, direct, firm. Theo knows it. Dad knows it. I know it above all. If you desire the lesson, it's unexciting because solid lessons usually are. Folks will exploit you as long as you permit. They will label it kin. They will label it affection. They will adorn it in bangles and tender terms. And when you finally decline, they will label you titles because their lips have never rehearsed gratitude without once more appended. Decline anyway. Decline until the resonance fades. I'm Ethan. I oversee things, angles, teams, my own existence. The narrative I'm conveying now has fewer roles but superior illumination. The disputes are sincere. The allocation is authentic. The final dialogue is the sole one that counts. I don't permit myself to be exploited any longer.